So let me go get my chair, Mike. Sit down.
Good evening and welcome to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting. Today is August 21st, 2023, and we do have a quorum, and I call this meeting to order. The first order of business is I need a motion to approve and a second for the minutes from the last, I can't even talk, from the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make
Motion
a
to
motion.
accept.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Davidson and a second from Chuck. All in favor, say aye. Oppose? I forgot your name, Chuck.
It's all right.
It's going to
If
be
it wasn't on my shirt, I'd forget it.
it's going to be a long meeting. I have other things on my mind, trust me. So we're going to reverse the agenda a little bit. We're going to start out with something that's been on the minds of Lavernians like myself for 30 years. And we've been wanting to get a soccer league for the children in this city. We've just never had anybody to step up and take responsibility. And we have a gentleman here now, and he's going to come up to the podium. Now, myself, Andrew, Kathy, Laura, a little bit, has had meetings with the gentleman. I think you're going to find him extremely knowledgeable of this game. And we need everyone to ask lots of questions. We need to ask Andrew lots of questions about the city portion of it. And I'm sure Andrew will probably even have questions for him. Is there anything else I need to add to that, Andrew?
That's a pretty good overview to start out. But yeah, as far as soccer is definitely something we need in our community. I mean, we have a very diverse population, and soccer is a very international sport. So I think it'd be a great asset to our community and our city here.
So, sir, if you will come up to the podium, please tell us your name and your address.
Check the thing was paused.
And I guess you can start out with telling us a little bit about yourself first, and then what your expectations are from the city and from what you are going to offer to the city.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me here tonight to spend a few minutes with each and every one of you. My goal is to be brief, to allow for time for questions, because I'd love to answer any and all questions that each of you might or will have. For those of you that have not had the chance to meet with yet, my name is Gift Ndam, just like it sounds, Gift. Ndam, that's the last name. The N in that name is silent, Ndam. Not to go too far back, but I grew up here in Laverne. What seems like just yesterday, I was commuting from mom's house where my mom and grandma still live on 1301 Tyan Drive down to Trevecca, where I went and completed my undergrad and played soccer there. Also met my wife 11 years in November. We've got two boys, Sam that's 4 last week, and Josh will be 3 in January. I'll give you a little bit of a background as to why soccer for me and the importance of sports in young people's life. You don't have to play soccer. I happen to play soccer, which is where I come from. And then share a little bit about the vision, as Vice Mayor mentioned. And again, I'll leave time for any specific questions. And anything about my background or education or playing, any of that stuff that I don't bring up, it's my nature. I'm not really good about bragging about any of my accolades or any of that stuff, so you may have to pry out of me. But for the most part, I played at Trevecca. I played after Trevecca. I met my wife there. She played at Trevecca as well. Soccer is a game that God used to change my life, and I don't mean that like playfully. from back home where I came from in Nigeria to spending time in refugee camp to coming here as 22, 23 years ago with little to no English. Soccer is what paid for my education, undergrad, my first master's, and that paved the way for me to do seminary and to do some other postgraduate studies. So without soccer, I wouldn't be in front of you today having a conversation to partner with the city of Laverne to bring a similar atmosphere for each of our kids. I've coached sports now for close to 16, 17 years. I started out doing the YMCA stuff, volunteering, learning, then spent some time at Brentwood Soccer Club, spent some time at Tennessee Soccer Club, TSC, and spent some time at NUSA. We've parted ways from NUSA and created something different. We have an organization now that's called Tennessee Temple FC. Our goal is to service anyone from any walks of life, regardless of your socioeconomic upbringing. And you say, how do you do that? The sport's too expensive. We've had like-minded businesses and folks that have allowed us to be able to offer scholarship and different funding to allow us to be able to offer soccer in a way where most clubs are not able to do. Why Laverne? I grew up here. I commuted because I didn't have the means to pay for housing and whatnot. I commuted from Laverne to college while I played in college. Laverne is a little different now than when I went to college and commuted from Laverne, but it's still a beautiful place to grow up. We have kids that are coming from Laverne and commuting 30, 45 minutes to us now in Murfreesboro, where our club, our 501c3, resides at Richard Seagull Soccer Complex. In talking to the board of the 501c3, my ask to the board was, why can't we offer this to Laverne? Because we triple in size, and part of that triple or percentage growth is most of those kids are coming from here in Laverne. Why can't we do something in Laverne so these single moms or single families or low-income families or different socioeconomic background don't have to commute 30, 45 minutes down to Murfreesboro to play the same game that we're trying to bring to kids from different walks of life. So I feel like I've just been running at you with a bunch of different things. I'm going to pause there, and any specific questions. A couple of little things, sorry, Mayor. The goal would be for this spring, if the city allows it and parks are okay with it, for us to start a rec program this spring. As to what that looks like, I'll partner with the parks and the city to make sure that it fits in the calendar wherever it works best. We like to start with the rec program first because for me, that's where I started. Rec is really where any and all persons that loves the game wants to start. You don't need a lot of stuff to start it. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of anything. You just need someone that loves you and wants to pour into you, that wants to nurture and challenge you, to come out and work with you. That's really all you need, right? So that's where we'll start with the rec in the spring. My ask would then be going into fall 2024 to not only do rec, but also have an avenue for those kids that are able to play in the tribal environment, to be able to have the opportunity for them as well. There will be an additional cost for that, as tribal ball does cost. But again, our goal would be to provide opportunities for the folks that needs it through the process we have in place. We have a financial aid committee. You fill out the form, and based on that, we're able to provide the needs that you need. So I'll pause there and then answer any questions that we may have.
I'll jump right in.
Yes, sir.
It may be a little bit premature to ask this question, but
Yes, sir.
Looking down the road, do you have a plan of what age groups you might be wanting to start out with to get the league going? Are we talking, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, or how does that work?
So the way I'm wired more as a collaborator. So it's not that I don't want to answer that question. I'm just telling you just how I make decisions. The goal would be to open it up for anyone that's interested, and based on who is interested, we'll then decide, okay, do we have enough to make this team, and then we'll go from there.
And that was why I said it may be
Right.
a little bit premature to
Right.
even ask that
Yes, sir.
question, but I was curious about your thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah, I don't. I think with the mindset that I have and the folks that we have with the organization, the mindset is more of a collaborator. Meet the city where the city is, meet the families where they are, bring them to where they need to be. If that's your goal and that's your vision, you can't really set an age because then you've eliminated the people before you started. So the goal would be to allow for as many families that want to participate, and then from there we'll decide. Okay, are we combining two age group? Do we have enough to make one team? Where do we need to gather our efforts from there? Yes, sir. Good question. I just don't have
Okay,
any.
no,
I need more data to make.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear was
Yes,
your
sir.
thoughts on it.
Yes, sir.
I got a question, but it's more for Steve and Andrew, I guess. Are we gonna have to get another team like we did the baseball and vote on that, or?
It'll have to be an RFP.
The city would have to put out an RFP.
Okay.
And Gift and his organization would have to fill out the proper paperwork and go through the same process.
Okay.
So it'd still be open to any individual essentially and be under review, but yes, it would have to go out for request for proposal.
Okay. I just want to make sure. What did you go to Trevecca for?
I went for my undergrad was in IT, information technology, and then my first master's was Master of Religion, and then my second one was an MBA.
Used to live in front of Trevecca.
Sorry.
I used to live in front of Trevecca,
Yeah.
so I know it very well. It's the part of the football field now where
Yeah.
we used to live.
Yeah. Spent a lot of days there.
With this league, I know you say you don't have an age group or to begin with, but would this be co-ed that you're looking for? And then also, if you do have ages, would it be like broken into divisions? I know, I'm sorry.
Rick.
No, Rick. I got Steve disease today. Like Rick was saying, was it?
No, you don't. Trust me.
So I know you can't answer about the division because you don't know about the age groups. But if
Yes,
you
sir.
just hypothetically, you got 100 kids and you have 5 to 15, would they be broken down to age groups and then co-ed as well, or it just be I want one team and we're gonna go that way?
That's a good question. And my thought on it right now would be you're going to have kids that fall in different brackets or groups. Boy or girl, if they want to play, they want to learn, and they want to be nurtured and challenged, we're gonna be there for them. We're opening a can here. In
Right.
talking to my wife about this, we've got 2 boys, and I do have a day job.
Right.
So what if 200 kids come up? What are you gonna do? The beauty of this, which is something I've not brought up yet, I also own a minor league team, 2 of them.
Minor league soccer.
Yes, sir. So those 2 teams players on those 2 teams are the coaches right now in our academy. So those kids and families are coming to watch their coaches play on the weekends, especially when the games are local.
Right.
So what ultimately will end up happening is the reason why I'm so relaxed on it, the number doesn't quite concern me, is because we have a lot of young people, mostly males, where the 2 teams are guys' teams, they go year round, that would step in and be coaches if we didn't have parent volunteers or whatever the case might be. So no restriction on guy or girl, no restriction on team. We're going to try to do the best we can to service our community. You asked a very good question, similar to your question earlier, and my thought on that is still the same. It would be once we have more information to make the best possible decision, then we'll do so. Part of the reason why I'm not too concerned about that is because when kids come out of the woodwork, if they are good enough and they don't need to be part of the rec program, we have a travel ball team right now that we could take those that are already good enough to just join those teams, and that will create rooms for the other folks, other families and kids that are not quite there yet. And our job then will be to meet those where they are and get them to where they like to be. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Does travel ball operate like AAU?
Very similar, yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Would you have a cutoff of age?
When I say I'm open to everything, I really am. I also have a plan in place, right? So X number of kids register in this age group, this is what that looks like. You hit 20 kids, this is what I've got that plan already as we speak. But I'm not going into, I'm a planner, I'm an organizer by nature. I have a plan of what I'd like to see happen, depending on what number of kids show up, right? But that plan is secondary to whatever happens. You can have plan, but life happens a
Right.
little different.
Life
But
happens.
yes, so we still have a plan in place. The goal would be to start at 5 or 6 year old, preferably go up to 17 if there are interest. But if there's no interest, then we'll just scale down to whatever the numbers in front of us. We'll take those set numbers and we'll plug it into the system we already have in place, which is X number of kids per team, different age group, and so forth.
Does the Tennessee Temple Soccer Club have like a league that they play in now, or is this going to be the Laverne chapter going to be the beginning of a league, like a Rutherford County league? Or
The travel ball, so there are two things here in Laverne. The first one, which is dear to my heart, would be the rec ball, right? And then the second piece, the rec ball is in the spring. There's no travel soccer in the spring. We couldn't start in the spring. It's just not possible. Well, it is possible, but it would make more sense for it to be tailored for a different time period.
I got you.
But the rec ball comes in the spring. The goal would be we excel at that, and we do it again in the fall. Then there's tryouts for the travel ball, AAU, and so forth for soccer in the summer for the fall season. And we then come back in the fall for a second season of the rec and the first season of the travel.
Gotcha.
The travel, or AAU in basketball, already exists. We started last year with 3 teams. We just started our second year this August, and we've tripled in size.
Nice.
And most of those kids are coming from our community.
Right.
Yeah.
All
So
right. Good stuff.
that's the goal. We have something that works already, and we want to use that to replicate that. We don't want to go too fast or too slow, but as we use what we've done before that worked, our goal is to apply it, but then also step back and say, is this really going to work? If not, what do we need to change? What adjustment needs to happen? Do we need more coaches? Do we need more volunteers? Do we need more space? I don't know. But once we have more data, we'll put our heads together and figure out the best way forward.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
What days are you planning on playing?
That's going to determine by
Depend
what.
on-
Yes, depend on what what we're able to work out with parks and recs. And again, I'm built more as a collaborator than a collaborator that has a plan in place, but also flexible if the need be.
So some of the things that I wanted to bring you guys on this board up to speed, some of the things that myself, Gift, Andrew, Kathy, we talked about, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we talked about. And if I speak out of turn, Andrew, please stop me. What my goal was, or suggestion, well, let me back up. We had some people in our meeting that knows a whole lot more about soccer than I do, for sure. But they seem to think that if we can get this to happen, and there's a lot of stuff that goes along with it, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that the response for this area will be overwhelming. Now, that's kind of the words they used, that it would be overwhelming. Not only for the diversity that Andrew spoke of, but for Antioch, Smyrna, things like that. Of course, we're going to make sure that the Laverne children are taken care of first. But those people that we had in those meetings seem to think that there may be a chance that we would have to turn some kids away, because obviously we can't just take as many as we possibly can. And to piggyback off what you were talking about in soccer, as I've learned, it's not called AAU, it's called elite. which I did not know until this meeting. And also my goal was I would like to see this happen for 2 years. Spring, fall. And then maybe even talk about, if it goes as what we would like it to do, is to take our existing football field and make it turf, so that he can bring his semi-pro team here and play, because obviously they can't play on that field with the way it is. But those are some of the things that we talked about. I guess I'll turn to Andrew and ask you a couple of things about, have you and David or whoever, have you all had the opportunity to look at green space? Because here was my ideology. Kids just want to play. You stick a couple of goals out in somebody's front yard, give them a ball and an official. The parents will bring lawn chairs, and they just want to play. But with that being said, there are things that we have to think about the city as far as green space.
So we have, Dave, myself, and Gift have went around the city. We've looked at the different green space options. We've talked about the green space there at Veterans Park that football uses for practice now. So, and football has also been in on meetings with us, so they are willing to coexist in that nature. We've also looked at some of this green space, the old ball fields behind City Hall here. So that is supposed to be demoed and basically just be a big field. So that is some spaces, and also there's talks of using the Heritage Valley Park there on Fergus Road for soccer games also. And of course, they still would use the football field there at Veterans. It just wouldn't be every day. And the reason, piggyback what Steve said about turf, is if you have soccer in the spring, heavy foot traffic on turf kills the grass, and then we don't want to leave football in a big muddy mess in the fall. So that's why our vision of turf in the future, as far as maintenance and being responsible to both organizations, whoever, soccer and football, that operate on that field, it's just being more responsible to them. But yeah, as far as spaces, we do have the space. I mean, depends on how many kids come out, but as Gift said, we'll make work what we have to do, I guess.
I have personally spoken to some people that I know and for a fact do soccer, and just, went through the what ifs, and their response was overwhelming also, that once soccer, because I like Rick Carroll, we've been around here since '94, and we've always wanted soccer. We've just never had anybody, and I use this term with Gift, and I'll use it tonight, we've just never had anybody to take the bull by the horn and run with it. And I think if we can work this out, get the RFPs in, get the green space. I know Laura is on the board of the HOA over there at that field next to on Fergus. That there's a chance that maybe if we can work it out with the city and her HOA, that we can go there, because the one word that keeps popping in my mind that I heard at that meeting was the word overwhelming. And from everything that I'm hearing, if that, and the people that were there, they know they know the area. If soccer is overwhelming here, I don't think it'll be a problem. As far as the 501, you guys do a thorough investigation with that, I'm sure. Make sure all of that is legit, because we do not want to get into that deal that we got into years ago with baseball. So we definitely want to keep that. But I would love to hear more questions from you guys if you have them.
I will say that, unfortunately, my daughter did play for a few years at Heritage Valley Park when YMCA had it, but they dropped it. So then there wasn't soccer anymore, or you go to Smyrna. And we had at least 4 teams playing on those just at Heritage Valley. There was at least 4 games going at a time on those fields.
I remember that very well.
And my daughter, running up and down, she hit some in the wrong goal, but she learned.
I mean, if you were to drive by Veterans Park tonight, there might be 40 or 50 kids out in those front fields playing soccer right now, just kicking between a trash can
Every single day.
every single night.
I think it's I think it's wonderful that you and your people now. So let's take it a step forward, and it's a lot of unknowns, and I know that, just like the age groups and the people, and there's a lot of unknowns. When it comes to money, I'm assuming you all have paperwork for donations, for signs, for names on jerseys, of course, as far as I'm concerned, like I said before, kids just want to play. Right. Give them a T-shirt and let them go. That's all they care about. I know from experience. Now, down the road, you get a little snazzy with the shorts and the shirts and all that stuff, but, you know, all this sounds great, but it takes dollars. That's a given. So
it does take dollars, but there are ways to do it, and especially when you start out and it doesn't become cumbersome, right? So we've done this before, and it worked. To just give an example, most folks should be able to find black socks and black shorts, and then what we'll have for them is a top. They don't need a name on the back of it. The 501c3, which I do sit on that board as the executive director, but it's a self-governing board. It's funny, there are times when I'm traveling for work or family or different things that I'm not at the meeting. They make decisions and keep going. Like, so why do you guys even need me in this meeting? You guys already decided what you're doing for the next couple of years, whatever the strategic meetings are. So the board does not really need me for them to function and do what they do. We've got great folks that want to be there for the right reason. We have been able to partner with other organizations through the success of the minor league team, and we funnel that benefit of the minor league team winning to our academy teams. For example, the first year when we only had 3 teams, we didn't have uniforms. We decided to call, I had a friend of mine that's in leadership at Capelli, and I called him and said, hey, we're looking at doing this with the youth program. How can we partner to do X, Y, Z and get some funding or get some resources to the academy teams? It didn't take but probably 10, 15 minutes of a conversation. The next thing we knew, they were giving the academy teams this kind of uniforms, I think like over $20,000 worth of equipment, balls, pennies, cones, different things. So, you know, my grandmama always says, if you build it, they will come. And for sure, we built it, and they came. Money is part of the equation. It's not my driver. It's never been. I grew up back home from the war to refugee camp. When I didn't have it, it didn't change me much. Now that I have a little bit of it, it doesn't change anything. I didn't come with it. I'm not leaving with it. So it doesn't, the money piece will sort itself out. But we have strategic partnership in place already that's helped the academy teams and reduce their cost. I mean, this year alone, going into our second year, I know this is recording, probably aired to Capelli. If this is in my NDA, I'm sorry. But, you know, we're able to, coaches outfitted in more than 6-7 ways. Balls, pennies, cones, all over again like we did last year. Shirts for the kids, practice shirts for the kids. Like, there are a lot of things that kids that play travel ball would have to pay for that they didn't have to pay for because the first team's success, we're able to channel that benefit to the kids. For example, you can research this on your own. Go look up what it costs to buy home and away uniform, practice uniform, backpack, and a jacket for a travel ball team. You're looking anywhere from $300 to $500 and something easily. Ours, $275. Less than half of anyone around us. How are we able to do that is, again, through that same partnership. Now, there are things that the first team has to adhere to, have certain display of Capelli stuff. We have to have certain things that have certain apparel and wear those things X number of times, display things at games, travel with things, promote certain things, some businesses that put funding into it. So the sponsorship side of it, we as a first team, as a minor league team, we have to honor that agreement. And then the benefit from that, we don't keep it all with the first team. We channel that to the kids. what we want to do here is do the same thing, but channel all the way down to the rec program. It's the same. What we've done works. We just want to do it again with the rec program, not just the elite. So
After you had, excuse me, after you had your meeting with myself, Andrew, and others, did you go back and talk to your partners, your associates about what we talked about? And if so, what did they have to say?
yeah, so the first group that I spoke with was the board, right? Because for full transparency, any success that we've had from a benefit that one would keep, we funnel that to the academy. So that's the first group that we had to make sure they understood that there's a rec program that's coming. Why? Good question, because 97% of whatever comes in from a benefit standpoint, staying with the academy, a good chunk of that now goes to the rec. So we wanted them to know what going into next year will look like. Obviously this year, calendar year, August through May, it's already accounted for. But going into next fiscal year, I wanted that board because the work, I know the work they've done firsthand, and I know the folks that are on there, and I know where their heart is, and I know just the amount of time they take away from their family and personal business and everything else to commit to the success of our program. Our success is not because of me. It's because we've got great folks that wants to be there for the right reason. They're there for the kids. So I went to them first and said, hey, in fact, after we finished, I started calling them to just say, before you hear from anyone else, I want you to know that Gift is on another verge of doing something again. The gift that keeps on giving. I want to do a rec program in Laverne, while Laverne of all places. I grew up there. That's my hometown. And I want them to know that every 100% that was going there is not going there anymore. What does that look like? I don't know. But I do know that I've seen enough come through from what we've done that enough can go and create something else. So their response is always the same response. I say yes, but you have to formally present it to the board and make sure that the board votes on it, agrees on it. I'm not concerned about that because there's not been a single thing that I've proposed to the board that they've turned down. There hasn't been. So this is no different. I've talked to the president. I've talked to a couple key folks that I needed to have conversations with. All of you are important if you're listening and watching. But I did the due diligence already, and I know that when it does come up for voting, that it's a no-brainer. It's going to pass. Then that's one piece of the pie. There's the other piece of the pie, which is the volunteering and getting folks that are playing on our first and second team to give up their time and to give back. I grew up as a single, in a single family, oldest of 7. There wasn't many males in my life growing up. I've been blessed to have over 50 guys that I get to work with week in and week out. My task to them is to give back to the community that we come from. So if you look at teachers, they're mostly females. You look at anything that has to do with giving back, Sunday school, you name it, mostly females. Again, blessed to have over 50 plus guys that are on the 2 teams combined. I'm pretty sure we can get at least 10, 20% of them to give back in some capacity. They all are there because they say they're there for the right reason, and they've shown that over 3 seasons, a year and a half. This would be no different. So it would be me asking, and usually, again, because of the way I'm wired and the way things have seemed to pan out for me, I love giving, and folks like giving me so I can give, and that's the goal, is to continue to do that.
So I guess from what you're saying, everything being equal, if we could get this off the ground, asking parents to come out and volunteer, whether it be teen moms or concessions or whatever, is not a big issue.
No. It takes a village.
Oh, it definitely.
It takes a village.
Trust me, we struggle with it. And so, Andrew, or Felicia, I guess would be the best question. Again, everything being equal, if we can work this out and make it happen, what is the process for an RFP? Time limit?
Time limit, it would have to, of course, it's too late to go before council this month.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bruce and I can get it together, it could be on the October meeting, I'm sure.
And Andrew, I'm sure you guys in Parks have got some things, some more. Have you got any questions that maybe I don't know about, or we certainly don't know about? Have we?
Pretty. I mean, he's giving you pretty much an overview. I mean, of course, we're wanting to do a rec league and also have travel ball, and the goal is to eventually have a minor league team here. So pretty much the entire organization can be encompassed in Laverne. So we just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Like I said, Steve had pointed out it might take 2 years, but we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. But as far-
Would it be called Laverne Soccer League? What would it be called?
If you want to change the name, Vice Mayor, we can talk about that.
Oh, well, I mean.
What is the name of it now?
Tennessee Temple.
Tennessee
The
Temple.
Tempo is Tempo, like music.
Oh, tempo.
Tempo, yes.
They said temple. Okay,
Yeah,
tempo.
Tennessee
okay.
Temple.
I guess that's something we'd have to talk about.
Yeah.
And as far as the RFP, I mean, Bruce has been emailed, and I believe Miss Felicia, I don't know if you were CC'd on it. Bruce does have the information on that. So he works pretty much extensively that and with Miss Felicia on that. So we'll follow up this week and push to get that on the next agenda for
And-
October.
And once again, if we can get this rolling, if everybody's, and you've got to bring it before the board, let's just using dates, let's say November 1st or December 1st,
For the,
at the earliest.
probably, I would say, would you say November would be the earliest it could be voted on?
I don't know, that's why I was asking about that. I don't know how that would work.
Actually, Bruce, I need to talk to Bruce, but I don't see why we couldn't have it at the board before for the November meeting.
Okay, so
At the
let's.
latest.
Let's say that it comes to the board and we okay it, then what is our next step? What's the next thing?
I think that really, I mean, of course, we get
Certificate
to,
of liability insurance.
yeah, we'll have to get all
There's
his
things like that.
paperwork and of that nature, but as far as sign-ups, he would do just like the baseball league. Go ahead and start advertising sign-ups.
So that would be early enough for a spring league? Are you all prepared for that quickness?
Yes. Not ideal timeline, but we'll make it work. I like to have more time, but yes, if that's the best that we could do.
And as far as the spring season, what months do you envision that being?
I don't know what's on the calendar at the moment from a field standpoint, but usually there's nothing you can do outside in January and February. So you probably want to do somewhere late March and
Okay.
go about 8 weeks. So yeah, you probably don't want to start too early because the grass is probably not ready for it. Just being mindful of that. So I would love to look at the calendar with you and say, okay, this is when we've always come outside to start doing stuff on grass. And then going forward 8 weeks from there, what does that look like? And then there might be some holidays or spring break or some stuff in there that we have to be mindful of. So my guess is that it wouldn't be a consecutive 8 weeks. It may be 4 weeks here, 4 or 5 weeks here, and then you skip 1 week for whatever holiday or whatever is going on in the community, and then come back to it again. But yeah, I would love to look at the calendar and then be able to better assess, like, when do you officially start? When would there need to be a break for whatever the reason being? When do we pick back up and when do we finish?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What does the season look like game-wise?
The games will be on the weekends.
I'm sorry, number of games.
It depends on the number of teams, but I mean there are 8 weeks, so ideally about 8 games, right? So if you're training once or twice a week, that's following Saturday you'll have games. If there are 4 teams in your bracket, then that Saturday you could potentially play each other once, which would be 3 games on that weekend. So the number of teams will be determined. Now again, remember there is a template already that we've designed that we're gonna be able to plug things in. There are X number of games based on age that you don't want to overdo in a set 24-hour period for safety reasons.
Right.
So probably no more than 3 games, and probably less than that the younger they are. But there's a lot that goes into it. But I would, yeah, the equation works. It's just a matter of getting some more data input to be able to make a good, accurate decision. Yes, sir.
and I hate to keep saying this because I don't know anything about soccer, other than I know the kids love it and we want it, and that's really all that matters. But do they play soccer in inclement weather as long as it's not lightning?
Yes, sir. If it's not too hot from a heat index standpoint and it's not thunder and lightning, you can play in the rain, especially if you have turf. But if you don't have turf, then you have to be mindful. The little guys are okay for the most part, regardless of the amount of rain. Now, if it's like pouring down hardcore, it's probably not safe to be out there at that point. But if it's just moderate rain, little drizzle here and there, you can play. The older you get, or the older they get, if they play on that wet surface, they're going to beat the field up. They're just going to.
They don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Preferably get.
I guess I have a question probably for Andrew. I'm really liking what I'm hearing tonight, and I'm just wondering about a timeline. If we all get together and we all love this and we decide to move forward with it, as far as the field is concerned, what would it look like as far as getting the budget approved for the turf and then actually getting it put in? Is that something that could happen like next summer between the seasons?
It could. The cost is extensive.
No, that's. I'll answer that.
Yeah, it's all budgetary. Let's go with that.
Yeah, that's my. That's why I wanted to be realistic and go for 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, if it gets to be overwhelming, as I keep saying, with the response and with the donations, the people buying, wanting to invest and stuff, and then, because that's a pretty big expense, because I think Andrew even brought it up the other day, just the LED lights for that's how much?
I'll be honest with you. The lighting itself, if we were just to replace the light heads, not the poles on the football field, the lighting from Musco Lighting was about $182,000 to $192,000.
Good.
And if you go look at the Laverne High School or Smyrna High School, that's what we're going to. You're going to your LED lights because our metal halide lights that are currently up there now, they're being outdated. The cost to operate them are double or triple, and the repair cost yearly is insane. So, and you can never keep them all operating at one time because you have a company come out and work on them. A day later, there's going to be two lights out. Now, your turf cost, you're looking around $750,000.
Plus, we even talked about it, and for his semi-pro team, we even talked about maybe building dressing rooms so the opposing teams, because when you get up to that level of soccer, I do know that's you got to have dressing rooms and things, and but at least now it's in the talks. We're going to move it forward, I hope, with Gift at the helm, people like Andrew, us, that I want 2 years. I want to make sure that when we present it to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, or when Andrew and David does, that we have got a leg to stand on. We can show them that this is something that we desperately need, or maybe not desperately, but we'd like to have to make it even bigger and better. Who knows? Because, at one time, I don't want to talk in the past tense, but I know I know that she knows. The Laverne Youth Baseball Softball at one time was number 1 in the state of Tennessee, probably even in the Southeast. And we're going to get that back there, but it's going to take us a while. But if we can come out of the gates with something like this, in a couple of years, this could be what puts Laverne programs on the map and people coming from all over. I mean, is that
Most definitely. When you talk about cost of upgrading our facilities, our facilities are roughly 30 years old. They're veterans. So it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not only a benefit to soccer, it's a benefit to our football kids. It's a benefit to events, our fall festivals held on there, our movies in the park, cornhole tournaments, anything of that nature. So that's less rain outs. We get tons of rain in Laverne. So it's not only a benefit just to soccer. That would be a capital upgrade to all our kids and our community events in the long run.
I don't have anything else, guys. He's right here if you have any questions before I cut him loose.
Is your league still going on now in Murfreesboro?
Yes, sir. And I've got time. I have permission from my wife to be here all night, so I've got time.
Well, there's another meeting after this,
Okay.
so we don't want to go too terribly long. But we want to make sure that the members here get as many questions in. And
Yes, sir.
of course, you all can always pick up the phone, call Andrew or David, and, please don't hesitate to email them or call them. If you have any more questions, they can ask. Of course, I got Gil's personal cell phone, so I can call him myself.
Whenever you want, sir.
But,
Whenever you want.
we thought it would be nice if we brought him here so you guys could ask questions. We can,
Yeah,
I
and
got all my questions out.
a couple of things to what both of you have mentioned already. The first one is my contact is gift, like Christmas gift, GIFT at Tennessee Temple, TEMPOFC.com. So gift at TennesseeTempleFC.com.
TN Tempo or Tennessee?
Tennessee
Tempo?
spelled out.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And if you want, this, Vice Mayor has my cell, Andrew has my cell, they'll give it to you. I think this is recorded, so I have enough issues, people calling me that I don't know them. I don't want to repeat it on air, but if you ask me after this, but I'm not, yeah. But the couple of things I just want to give you, our academy is TN Tempo FC Academy.com. That's the 501c3, capital T or TN. The Tennessee is not spelled out, just TN Tempo FC Academy.com. That's the academy site. The first team site is Tennessee spelled out, Tempo spelled out, like the music, Tempo, FC.com. So those are two different entities, two different teams. The academy is a 501c3 nonprofit. Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm just thinking how much money we put into that already. It's really nonprofit. And then there's the first team that is the S corporation that is for profit. Air quotes because it doesn't quite make money. Whatever it makes, we pass on to the academy. But don't ask me why I'm doing this. Families ask me that question multiple times, and I don't have a good answer besides I like giving back. This is our fourth season for the minor league, and ever since we started back in 2021, we have won our conference every single season. We have, in our first season, we're in the UPSL, United Premier Soccer League, over 400 teams across the country. I think 450 if you count Mexico with us. We made it to the national championship our first season. Our second season we lost in the Sweet 16. And our third season just ended a couple of weeks ago. We lost in the quarterfinal, the national quarterfinal, not the conference, not the region, but the national quarterfinals. And then this is our fourth season we just begun. They went on the road to play a new team that's supposed to be really good in Jackson. And they won on Saturday. I wasn't there. I was here at home. But they won 6-1 in the season opener on the road. So I say that to say one last thing, sorry, before I say this. We were one of 9 or 11 teams across the country, amateur teams, that qualified for the U.S. Open Cup. The U.S. Open Cup has been around for, I think, at least 105, 106 years old, where professional teams get together and play. So we were one of 9 or 11 teams, I know it's an odd number, that made it to the U.S. Open Cup. And we lost to a pro side here in Murfreesboro back in March. The reason I'm saying all that is to echo what you said earlier. We have places that have already asked us to come use their place. Moving forward, we chose to stay in Murfreesboro for specifically a simple reason. Our academy is already there. After they're done training, they can stay and watch the first team train. when they're done playing games in the morning or afternoon, they can go to the stadium and watch their coaches and folks that are on that first team play. So there's a community aspect of it. There's a family atmosphere about it. That's why we've not moved the first team from Murfreesboro. I don't like paying what we're paying to be there, but to keep our family all at one place, that's why we've decided to keep it there. I can tell you that Seagull and Murfreesboro has been mentioned a lot because we're winning and we're on ESPN3, we're on different channels, and we're U.S. Soccer, different stuff is happening. So the upside of this is huge. The cost of the facility that we're mentioning, that cost is not going to go away. But could we connect with the turf company and say, hey, how do we partner and you can be a title sponsor or a different kind of sponsor and do different things because of the awareness that we create across U.S. Soccer. So there are ways for us to strategically put our heads together and figure out the best possible way forward. There are folks that I know that if they were to put their name engraved, their business name engraved in the turf, they would be willing to pay parts of it, right? So there are different ways to go about eating up that cost. Yes, it's a 30-year property that needs to be invested in as a community. Yes, all that good stuff, but soccer is still going to be using it, and if we can contribute and help in any way, shape, or form, we would love to do that. I would love for our family to be in one place. The caveat to this is I am projecting that we're going to, if history repeats itself, because history always does, we just don't listen to it, right? If we triple from year 1 to year 2, and we don't triple next year, but we only double. We came from 3 teams to 9 teams. If we go from 9 to 18, we wouldn't be able to stay in Murfreesboro. We couldn't. There are 3 clubs that are there already. We barely have space to train. There are conversations at the moment of a different location that have already agreed for us to go there next fall. That is not my first preference. Again, my preference would be here at home. But I'm concerned that if we do the rec and the rec does what we're anticipating it does, we may not have space to do the travel here. We may just be able to just do the rec. In the event of that happening, the rec will be here, and then the travel will be somewhere else in a different city, still in Middle Tennessee. But I just want to make sure for full transparency's sake that we're all in sync. I'm fully in with the organization, with folks that are helping, volunteering, sponsoring. But if we don't have the space to do what needs to be done, then we'll keep doing the rec as long as we can. But the pro side and then the kids side, the travel ball side, may not be able to come to Laverne if we don't have the space for it. So,
Understood. I will tell you also, we had the football program in the meeting with us, and there will be absolutely no conflict whatsoever with football. Football is their go-to here, so, but there won't be any conflict. My last question, and then we've got to get going.
yes, sir.
Did you go to the soccer game the other night? Are you a Messi fan? Did you pull for Nashville? Just real quick.
You know this is recorded, right? And I have friends, so I like to friendship and things I like to maintain after this meeting. Okay. Whatever you want,
Plead
sir.
the fifth.
Yeah, play the fifth. Thank you.
Well, Gil, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And we're going to have the rest of our meeting.
Yes,
and, you know, you can hang around and listen to it, or you can leave. Either one, we're not going to be mad. But I speak for all of us when I say that we really enjoyed it. It's very informative and got a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. And, of course, Andrew and David will, you know, and we'll see what happens. But
Yes,
thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll get back on track here, and we will talk about the heat wave, or not the heat wave, but the carnival this weekend. Is that Kathy?
It is. All right. The carnival's actually started rolling in today. It opens to the public Thursday. It's open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 24th through the 26th. Thursday, Friday, it's open 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And Saturday, it's open noon to 10. The armbands are $25 a piece. They are good for 4-hour increments. They are good 6 to 10 Thursday, Friday, 1 to 5 on Saturday, and 6 to 10 on Saturday. So important to know, they are not, you cannot use an armband from noon to 1 or 5 to 6. They are selling tickets individually for $1 a piece, and it takes 3 to 5 tickets per ride if you want to ride outside the armband timeframes.
Can you tell me those timeframes
Yeah.
again?
It is 6 to 10, pretty much 6 to 10 Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then 1 to 5 on Saturday as well. So there's 4 time frames that those armbands are good for.
Will you, and I asked you this last time, just so there's no misunderstanding, and for folks that hopefully are watching or will be watching, explain how that armband will work depending on what time you get it.
If you show up at 3 o'clock and buy an armband, then that armband is only good from 3 to 5. So you're not going to get your full 4 hours unless you do the full 1 to 5 or 6 to 10. So, and it is on social media. We've got it posted out there. Hopefully everybody will see that so that they don't pay $25 for 1 hour worth of rides. And they will be told also, if you show up at 3 o'clock and you buy a $25 armband, you're going to know that's only good till 5. So you have the opportunity to leave and come back and ride from 6 to 10.
With the same armband?
No,
They change
they
colors.
change the armband,
Yeah.
so, but before you purchase that armband, you will be made aware that it is only good until 5 o'clock.
Gotcha.
Because that Saturday's the only day it's really gonna affect anybody, so.
Any questions about the carnival? All right, and we will move on to the big event for the Fall Festival.
All right, Fall Festival, we've got the kickoff concert Friday night, September 15th. It is Gabriel Sanchez Presents the Prince Experience. It's at 7, gates open at 6. Parade Saturday starts at 10 a.m. It'll start at City Hall, end at the park. Festival starts immediately after the parade and will end at 3:30. So there's no Saturday night concert. It'll be just day entertainment on Saturday.
How many horse cars have we had people sign up for?
We have had no horses. I did have one of the horse organizations come get his registration form, and I did let him know about the requirements. If you register a horse, it has to either pull a trailer or a float. And that's normal. They come and they'll get the registration, then they turn it in all at once. So I've not received the registration, so I don't know how many he's planning on putting in the parade. There's 2 big horse organizations that usually register, so.
Tell me just a little bit before we end here about that entrepreneur, the kids' things.
Okay,
I read it, sounded pretty cool.
Children's Entrepreneur Market, they travel, it's in different states, but this one's of Tennessee. They travel different cities in Tennessee, different festivals, and the booths are strictly run by children. So she takes up her own registrations, and then she just reports back to us how many booth spaces she will need. She organizes it, and then they're just gonna participate at our event. They'll have their own little section. And if you see that, you shared it. So she's trying to get the word out. So if you don't mind sharing.
Is that, are those things that those kids invented?
Not all of it is handmade, but it's strictly children run. So it could be CDs that they acquired. It's not, I don't believe it's all, handmade or homemade by children, but the booth itself is managed. They have to run the booth, they manage the money on the booth, they do it all. So.
And who are your bands throughout the day?
At 11:30, we have Hobo Road, and then at 2 o'clock, we have the Road West Band.
Parade starts at 10
10 a.m. at City Hall.
at City Hall. Any questions from the board? Any comments? All right. So we'll talk just for a minute. How many of you are excited what you heard about soccer?
It's time.
I made my mind up.
It's way pastime.
Way
And,
past time, yeah.
and as Andrew said, and me and him was talking about it the other day up at the Howl at the Moon was, I remember when my son and he played, I coached, and we started behind the Senior Citizen Center, and they were building Veterans Memorial. And I remember when it got done, how exciting it was to come up here to a new park. Because down there, the lights were drooped down like this, and
Remember it well.
sparks was flying off the lights, and they would go.
Bags sticking up out of the,
Yeah, you remember
Ground,
that,
they
yeah.
weren't
So I'm
in
excited.
here.
I hope there, even though this sounds great, I hope that all of the other wheels that need to be in motion with the city and parks and 501s and RFPs and green space and things like that I hope we can get that all together and make this happen. So our next meeting will be September the 18th, right here at 6 p.m. With that said, we are right on time. I call this meeting adjourned.